Hello guys, my name is Michael. Today we're going to extend a little bit the story with the event boxes, which we were creating in the last tutorial about event boxes and why do you need an event box and so on. We're not going to talk today about this, but we're going to extend something very important which you should know about what happens and how you should really handle this event box. Okay, so let me show you something. I will run a program now. This is a program here which has a window. The window inside has a event box. Inside the event box there is a label, and when I go with mouse pointer here, as you can see, the mouse pointer changed to crosshair, and by doing this, let's say if you want to read something like this, you need to understand something very important about event box before you come here. So okay, let me show you something. I go to our references. I will search for GTK EventBox. Let's see what information we can grab from here. Okay, now we are here. Here there are there are five functions which you can use. And the title says, like you already probably know, GTK EventBox widget used to catch events for widget which do not have their own window. So this means if you have no window, if you have a widget which has no window and you need to catch some signals, like I already told in the last tutorial, you need an event box, and that's it. Okay, these are our 5 functions. The properties are 2: above child, this one, and visible window, this one, and so on. Types and values, we are not interested now. Implement, we are not interested. Description: the GTK event widget is a subclass of GTK bin which also has its own window. This is the part where you need to understand something. It's somehow confusing. It says GTK EventBox widget is a subclass of GTK bin which has its own window. Okay, it is useful since it allows you to catch event. Okay, that's not important, interesting no one. Let me show you something. We are here, and as you can see, we have our GTK window, we have our GTK display, and GTK window display, and GTK cursor. We need them for our cursor creation, or the mouse pointer to change it. We are not going to talk now about this, but I want to show you only that there are 3 functions needed for doing this job. This means the first one is cursor new for display. This means from your display you get the cursor, which is the actual now, and then you set what you need to change. Then you need the position of your window to know where the cursor is and to can change it. And that the last function, because this is the function actually which you need it, this is the function where you set the cursor, but to can set it you need a GTK window and a GTK cursor, those two. So to have those 2 parameters, you have to initialize them with those 2 functions. But this is not our story. Let me show you something. Let me go back up here. So like say we have a window, we create it, we print it, and after we print our window, we already set the default size, and of course we gave it a border width of 50. Is not important now, so that's it. That's nothing more, and the signal to destroy the window. Okay, let me run the program now. I will show you something very interesting. And as you can see, when I go with the mouse pointer here, the mouse pointer changed, and the program works fine, like has to be. Okay, now let me show you something very important. I will move this part here down here, and this time I will call the GTK Widget Show all window. Okay, So basically this means, as you already know, after you create a lot of your widgets by calling this window, by calling this function, everything will be printed after your window will be printed. Yeah, that's what you know. That's what I know too. I repeat. This is the function which all your widgets, they will get printed after your window is printed. This means at this point your window doesn't exist. So what this means, let me show you something. I run the program now. Okay, yeah, because I need to semicolon. I run the program now, and bam, says GTK window set cursor. Assertion GTK is window failed. Why is that? Well, because in the first example we were creating our window which was realized and realize or realize, I'm calling how to spell it, I'm not sure. Sorry guys, anyway, it's not important now. After we did this part here, our GTK set cursor, when made those how can I say, those checks about assertion of the window, if it's true or not, it failed because the window it didn't existed at this point. So by working with this kind of function, you need to know that your window is should have existed. So okay, this is not so bad, it's not so important now, but let me show you something which is really important here. I go up here and I will comment out this part. I will drop this part because we don't need it. I will comment out this part too, label label and so on. Okay, let's see what happens now. I will compile it and run it. You see, the program is here, the label is printed and so on, and we still have this Windows failed. Okay, because we did the same story. Now one big important thing is that you need to understand something here, and I will show you just to be clearly. I will get the position of the widget of the EventBox now this time, which will be the same, if you know what I mean. It has to be the same because after you create an EventBox, the way how the description says, a widget used to catch events which do not have their windows, so it's a widget. And here says the GTK window widget is a subclass of GTK bin which has its own window. Yes, it has, but where's the window? I mean to have this window you have to create it, because just by creating a EventBox with GTK EventBox new, it doesn't mean that your window it's also created. It's only the let's say the part where the events takes place, but the window itself, it doesn't exist, it's not there. To have it, you have a function. Let me search about a little bit about this function, some information which we can get. Okay, it says GTK Widget Realizer, says creates the GTK window system. Yeah, they're very important. Resource associated with a widget. This means, for example, widget window will be created when a signal is realized. Normally it doesn't happen implicitly if you show a widget and all its parent container that the widget will be realized and map it automatically. Resizing the widget requires parent widgets to be realized. GTK widget realizes the widget's parent in addition to widget itself, and so on. If a widget is not yet inside the top level window, when you realize it, bad things will happen. So it had to be. So it is. Okay, this means I will call this function this time on our EventBox. I will compile the program now. I just created a box, and there you go, works fine, the pointer works fine, and so on. And this is the way how you handle a situation when you create EventBoxes. Just remember, realize your box before you use it. In the next coming GTK4, which I think is released already, all the widgets, after you create them, they are automatically showed. This means you won't have problem like this, for example, where your window has to be implicitly printed. So you probably, if I understood right, GTK Widget Show and GTK Widget Show will not be used anymore, at least not if you don't explicitly hide your widgets. Then of course you need to call this function. But this is not a story. We are not talking about the GTK4 now because it's too new, even if it's a stable release now, which came out anyway. We are not gonna talk about this, and it's too early to work with GTK4. We don't need it. We will stay with GTK3. So, like I said, remember to catch events from a label which has no default window. We already know that. Then you need to create an event box. By doing this, you have the opportunity to have those events which you set them on your label, signals, and so on, and everything works fine. But remember, your event box has no default window, which means you need to create it first before you have it. This means if you call this function here, it won't help you, because everything what happens before here happens, and your EventBox has no window, and of course you already saw here that you have a problem with your window missing when the GTK window set cursor, like in this example, makes a check and informs you that your window has no GTK window. So this is a very important thing. Okay, let's see. There is something which we can talk fast. I go back a little bit to reference, and I will GTK EventBox. Let's talk a little bit about these functions, not too much because I don't believe that it's that important. Maybe set above child. This is important function here. Says set whatever the EventBox window is positioned above the window of its child or opposite below it. So if you have a widget where your widget has a window and you want to set events above this window, then you need to call this function. If not, you can let it like this. I think now it's set to false at true if EventBox window is above its child. And the second window, which also I'm not sure where you can actually use it, maybe when you need to set something transparent to you have a widget which you want to have to be transparent, then you change this GTK input output to GTK input only. I think this is the default. Wait, set only the child window. The default is to use visible. Okay, so it is visible. This means you have to set it to false if you want to handle widgets which are above this EventBox. And I don't know, maybe you have a picture or something which it's have a opacity or something that is transparent, and you want to I don't know, then you can make this window invisible so that you can interact with your background of your program, or maybe with your top level window. So that's it. Everything is should not be new for you. The types and values is our struct, which has only a parent class because it came from GTK bin class. Property, we didn't talk about property too much. I will not talk anyway too much about the properties because it's not important. The only thing which you have to know, every function, every widget has a property. So when you come here to see these properties, probably you will ask yourself how can and why are there. Every property is connected with your functions, which means these are properties: child and visible window. These are the properties which you can work with, and so on. That being said, I think we covered everything which we had to cover, and I'm almost 100% sure that now we did cover everything you need to understand about GTK events and signals and callbacks and so on, and also the importance of EventBox and why you need it, when you need it, if you need it, how you need to work with this widget, and what happens if you don't create the window also for your EventBox, because like I said, EventBoxes does not have a default window. Remember that. You need to create it, you need to realize it, like we did here, because if you don't do it, then you cannot work with this widget like being a window. Like I'm here, you see, GTK widget get window. I'm using EventBox. I'm not using window. Even if I change it, it is not important now. If I work with the whole window, you see, it works fine. Or if I work with EventBox window, which this time I created. Of course, I need the EventBox window. Why? Because I need the cursor to be there only and only to my EventBox. So only here, not the whole program. Even if it's here printed, it's printed because of the because of the border. Anyway, that is not important. Important is that you are always working with widgets which are interesting, not with the whole window. So this is the reason why I'm playing with GTK widget get window, taking as argument EventBox. This is not so easy to make a difference, because the EventBox itself finds itself inside the window. This means, as you can see here, I added the EventBox to window, and by doing this I take the whole place from the window. What happens if you are using, for example, a grid or a table? Okay, table are not in GTK3, sorry. Maybe you are working with boxes or something, and there you need only a row or a column. So this is the part where you have to understand that you don't need the whole window here just to change the cursor. If you need the cursor to happen only there where you need to happen. Okay guys, that being said, thank you for watching. I hope you like it. Please to subscribe and share with your friends, and until next time, see you guys.